Hey, everyone out there in Radio Land and anyone watching on YouTube when this eventually does drop on YouTube. This is the Ringside Five. I am your host, your boy, George Mackay, and I am, as always, joined by my PIC, my podcast life partner. I got a lot of those, but my podcast life partner, my very good friend, she'll never admit it, but unlike her, I will admit it.
Whatever,
Okay,
man.
friendship is key. Don't interrupt the intro, please. The intro is how we get everything going and moving, and you've sullied it. Ladies and gentlemen, the voice of reason, Michelle Aruzo.
My apologies. Hello, everyone. Oh my God, is that a tear? I'm sorry, George.
With a tear in my eye.
I'm so sorry. I apologize.
Why is it that wrestling fans, I want to get into this a second. Why is it that wrestling fans, every time you mention like tears, we automatically go to the Ric Flair promo? Why is that? Is that because we're so ingrained to say with a tear in my eye?
I think so, right? I think that has
Does that make
been
us awkward or weird than anybody?
no,
No.
that makes us a community.
Makes us wrestling fans.
It makes us wrestling
Okay, I like that. I like that. Right. So today on the Ringside Top Five, we're gonna have a lot of fun. We always have fun here at Ringside Five, like yeast. We will rise to the occasion.
Oh,
I like that.
I like that. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of sourdough starter recipes.
I've been
So you
watching a
got
lot
me
of Saved by
there.
the Bell.
Nice.
That's where I got it from.
Yeah, oh, I know.
Mr.
Yeah.
Carosi. Like Carosi's like yeast. We rise to the occasion.
Great series, Saved by the Bell, by the way.
Yeah, Mr. Carosi was also the voice of Pumbaa in The Lion King.
Pumbaa.
Yeah, Pumbaa. Not the original, not the one we know now as Seth Rogen.
Oh, like the one that just came out, Mufasa?
Yeah, well, he did Mufasa. He was Pumbaa in Mufasa, but he was also Pumbaa
Oh,
in
and like
the
the
Lion King live
okay,
action.
I see.
So
Okay.
they've made it now. Seth Rogen is like Pumbaa, but originally the guy that played Leon Carosi, whose name I don't know, he was Pumbaa.
Interesting factoid.
Yeah, completely useless. I mean, you're not going to use it in every, I mean, unless it's like a trivia game.
It's fine. I'm a huge fan of Jeopardy and like little tidbits
Tidbits
really,
like that really
yeah,
get you.
honestly.
Okay. I don't think that's going to be a double Jeopardy question. I'm just going to throw that out there, guys. But regardless, today's episode of the Ringside Top 5 is wrestlers who deserved a bigger push. Yes, that's right. We're going to do a deep dive into 5 wrestlers we feel should have gotten a push while they were on TV.
How interesting is that though? Because I think that there's a lot of wrestlers that deserve a bigger push, right? To be honest, there's probably countless, but to narrow it down to 5 was kind of difficult. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm really not gonna lie, it was very difficult for me. I mean, you had 1, 3, and 5, and you were raring to go. You got it. You were there. I had 2. 2 was easy for me. Because when I saw that you didn't pick him on yes, 2 spoiler alerts guy, when I saw you didn't pick him at 1, 3, and 5, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
boom, I'm gonna throw him in because this is my all time. If anybody's listened to history of Straight Talk Wrestling or anything to do with anything that we've ever done, they know that this guy is easily my number 1 or my number 2, depending on the mood that I'm in. And no, it's not Sting. Okay, Sting is my all time. No, it's not Triple H. Triple H is another all time. This is another all time. Okay.
Ooh.
Hint: if you're watching the video, he's literally right there.
Why would you do that?
Right there. Okay, but anyways, and 4, I could not really come down until yesterday. We actually had a pre-production, if you will, brainstorming session, which flipped into M. Night Shyamalan movies, and like we really went on a tangent of weirdness in that conversation.
That's what happens when you're friends.
That is what I think, yes. But we did come down with what we felt would be a strong number 4.
Right.
So without further ado, I'm going to hand over the reins to you.
Ooh.
Number 5.
Okay, so for number 5, honestly, this list was really, really difficult for me. I had to go through my own archives. I need to figure out who I thought deserved
through your own mind.
Yeah, like I really had to. It honestly is. It really is. But I ultimately decided that the number 5 spot should go to the Iceman, the man of 1,000 holds himself, Dean Malenko.
Dean Malenko.
And just taking in his career, even just his moniker, the Iceman, gives you an insight to his demeanor. He was very like cool, calm, collected. I think
Never smiled.
I mean, he never smiled, which is odd that at some point they did try to turn him into a ladies' man. They tried to like give him that kind of a gimmick.
Yeah.
Later on in his career.
That was his WWE.
Right. Yeah. That was like really late in his career before he ended up retiring. But I just think that he was so technically phenomenal. And spoiler alert, all of my choices are technical wrestlers because I think that they don't get enough shine. right? I think, especially in the era that Dean Malenko was in with the WCW and WWF, WWE, it wasn't like cruiserweights, that mid-level guy wasn't who was reaching the top, right? They're looking for big guys. They want the strong guys. So the little guys or the cruiserweights, I think he was even a light heavyweight at one point, but you weren't gonna go past a certain point. Like you plateaued. And unfortunately, I do kind of see it a little bit lingering in the culture today.
Mm.
But there's definitely been change, and I know change also takes time. Like you can't make drastic changes. Like in an environment like that, I think knowing everything I know about wrestlers and the way that the locker room was like organized.
Back then, not so
Yeah,
much now.
not so
Now
much
it's
now, but
more,
back then
yeah.
at that time, you had to do it gradual, right? Like you couldn't do something
Oh yeah, you were
just so sporadic.
you were on the top of the mountain. It took a while to get to the top. When you were at the top, you were not going to give that spot up.
Yeah, and like with his whole demeanor, he had like a silent charisma.
Oh, I like that. I like
Right?
that. Silent charisma. How do you have expand? How do
Okay.
you have silent charisma?
So a lot of people think that charisma, or when you think about charisma, you relate it to how someone speaks, right? How they captivate you. And when I think about charisma, there's a lot of like John Cena is the one who's popping into my head right now. But for him, like Dean Malenko, he let his wrestling do the talking for him,
Okay, I see what you're
right?
getting with. Yeah.
So that's why I also think that like maybe that didn't necessarily work out for him because we all know wrestlers are supposed to be well-rounded, you know, as much as you have an in-ring capability, we also want somebody who can speak on the mic, someone
Sure.
who can, rile up the crowd without even speaking, right? Like I was watching SmackDown last night and Cody got into the ring and everything was kind of like simmering down and he just took the belt and he raised it up and like the crowd went wild. He didn't even say a word, you know?
Yeah, and
So
shout out to Cody, by the way, doing all these things in like these three-piece suits. Like it's impressive.
honestly, I love the three-piece suits. I'm loving it.
I
And the
love it
fact
that he's
that he
coming out with the
can,
jackets though.
yes,
We all know my
you're
stance
too
on,
restricted.
yeah, the jackets are a waste of time.
And I
Give me
also
a vest and a
like
pair of pants, I'm all there for you.
I also like that KO came through the crowd. Side note, like SmackDown was pretty good last
A
night.
little
I
bit
can't
long
lie.
for me, but yes,
It
that's
was a
right.
little bit long, I will say that, but it was good. But just he didn't say a word. It was just his motion. And I think that in our time right now, that's something that we respect. We're like, oh my God, he doesn't have to say a word and we're in it. But
Hmm.
at that point in time, you needed to be able to, I think you needed to be more of a presence with the mic over wrestling capability.
Just
Just,
because of how hot
yeah.
the talking portion of pro wrestling was.
And it's hard. Like, I couldn't imagine standing in a ring in front of all those people and trying to remember what I'm trying to say and also wanting to make it flow like it's not something that was scripted or, it's a lot of pressure. So, like, right, who am I to judge? But I think that his in-ring ability definitely overshadowed everything, and things can be taught. We've seen it with other people who maybe weren't like the best talkers, but you pull them aside a little bit or I don't know,
Put them with a manager.
practice. Yeah, you practice and they do eventually get better. These are skills. You're not like born with them. And even if you're born with talent, if you do nothing to expand on that or work on that talent, then it's wasted, right? So I don't know. That was my little tangent on Dean Malenko for number five.
No, I like that. I like that because you picked a wrestler out of when the four, I'll say the four horsemen, if you will, like 7.0, when they made the jump from WCW to
Oh,
WWE, it
they
was
were
big. What were they called again? I
the
call
Rascals.
the
The
Rascals.
Rascals.
Yeah, I didn't like the Rascals. I pretty much perceived them as a new age version of the Four Horsemen, even though there had been so many incantations. Just four guys coming over, the dark, brooding type. And I mean, everyone in that circle, in those four men, they did get pushed at one point or another, except for Dean. Perry got pushed. Perry had the whole storyline where he was dressing up in dresses and all that stuff, and it fell
How could you
flat.
forget that,
It
by the
didn't
way?
it didn't work, but it fell
No.
flat. But I mean, Benoit. personal life aside, Benoit got pushed, did reach the mountaintop, became a champion. Eddie Guerrero as well became a champion. Lai Chi Steel, the storyline with China, everything was great. I actually posted Eddie Guerrero, rest in peace. I posted one of my favorite promos of him when he just straight shot on Brock Lesnar
Yeah.
back in the day. It's actually check out the Straight Talk YouTube page. We're at 326 or 1,326 subscribers. So hit us up. Check out some of those classic interviews. Check out some of those shorts that I've been posting. It's doing its thing, man. YouTube is blowing up for Straight Talk, which is great to see.
Hey, let's go.
But I will say this: D. Malenko didn't get pushed, and I feel like age was a factor because when those four guys came in, he was the oldest of the four. Eventually, became more of a backstage fixture for guidance and producing and booking matches,
Yes.
where he ultimately shines. But I feel like you're right. I feel like had there been a different time period, had it been a few years younger for Dean Malenko, I think the Iceman would have flourished.
Yeah, because his injuries are what led to his retirement in the first place. So, even just thinking about that, like you're injured and so now you can't do the thing you love, like that's really sad. But to know that like he transitioned pretty well from being an in-ring performer to being a producer, it's nice to see that WWE has opportunities for the wrestlers who can no longer do what they love, whether it's like for medical reasons or, it's just their time to hang up the boots. So yeah, that was nice to note and to in my little research that he became a producer afterwards. I'm not sure if he's still,
AEW, I believe he's a producer,
but
or he's backstage something at AEW.
but
He's over in limbo.
regardless,
He's in limbo. Well, that's what we
he's
call
doing
it.
his thing.
He's limbo. He's doing his thing.
Yeah.
But that's a great number 5. I liked it. I enjoyed
Thanks.
it. Well done. Well done. Number 4 is going to be short, sweet, and simple. Well, not short. Two very rather large individuals. I picked a tag team, and I picked a tag team that I feel were cut down in their prime. The Natural Disasters, Earthquake and Typhoon. These guys were great. One-time only tag team champions. I feel like these guys could have easily dominated the tag team division for a very, very long time. We know the unfortunate of Earthquake, the amount of times he was given horrible gimmicks, the amount of times he was kind of flourished. And it's weird because Vince McMahon loves a big man. And you look at Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant was not a big, muscular man. He was just a big man. But he got pushed because he was larger than life. You look at Typhoon and you look at, Earthquake. These were big men. Earthquake, not the most physically gifted man, but he could hold it down, and so could Typhoon. The fact that these two men were only given one run as tag team champions is sad. Again, these two could have easily dominated the division if Vince McMahon could get past his stereotypical looks and vibes of how wrestlers should look. That's why Kevin Owens is only a one-time world champion, right? Because he's not the prototypical wrestler. He doesn't look like a prototypical wrestler. And even if you watch the Kevin Owens documentary, everybody said a guy like Kevin Owens should have never made it to WWE. Pac said it. Who else? Seth Rollins said it. I'm just sitting there going like, who are you guys to judge? Oh, that's right. You're, Vince McMahon fanboys. But the fact is that these two guys were not given a push past that one title run, basically, in my opinion, based on the way they look. And it's sad because these two were somewhere between 6 and 7 feet tall. They were easily close to 300 pounds each, maybe a little bit over 300 pounds. We're talking 700 pounds of pure muscle, pure meat, pure devastation. You also gave them the nickname of the Natural Disasters. Imagine what a tandem finishing maneuver could look like. An Earthquake Typhoon type finisher move. You call it the second D, like the second disaster, where it's just like Typhoon does something where he spins the guy and the Earthquake just drops him and shatters the whole ring. It would have been fire. And I feel like the Natural Disasters were not given that shine. We're not given that push. And we all know me. I'm very pro tag team wrestling, especially 80s, 90s tag team wrestling. Love that shit. That's meat and potatoes for me. So Natural Disasters, man. May Earthquake rest in peace. Fred Ottman still out there doing his thing. I met Tugboat. He's great. I got an autograph somewhere here. He's awesome. Had him on the show. Check out the Straight Talk archives for that. But man, the Natural Disasters, I felt like they could have easily been multiple time tag team champions in the F/the E/whatever it is now. But they could have done it. And they were never given that proper chance to shine because of the stereotypical ways that people viewed pro wrestlers, and in a lot of ways still do today. Even though, body imagery is accepted, two guys like the Natural Disasters might flourish in a time period like now because they would actually be given a shot for the fact of their ability, not so much how they looked. And that's the real crime. They were robbed of their creativity and their passion by the old, selection process of pro wrestling.
I like it. I like it. Good job, man. Honestly, I love tag team wrestling as well. And just hearing your ideas for like how everything could have played out for them. I like that idea of a tandem finish. Like it's the one thing I really love about tag team wrestling is like the tandem wrestling and the fact that
Oh yeah.
as much as the tag teams are working in tandem, like technically everybody is working in tandem when you really break it down. So it's just a beautiful thing to watch. But I
Well,
like this.
I'm a Gallows and Anderson guy.
Yeah.
And I think they have one of the best, one of the most protected tag team finishers, as well with the MCMG. I mean, they're killing it right now. Last night, for example,
Yep.
their finisher called Skull and Bones,
Yep.
right? And it's dirty. It's just so dirty. It's so picture perfect. Those tandem tag team finishers, second to none. And
Gorgeous
I,
to
I feel
watch.
like the Natural Disasters, they were robbed out of what truly could have been multiple tag team runs.
Yeah.
I believe. Only together for 3 years and then cut down in their prime. And then we got the whole Shockmaster thing. And then Earthquake kind of went and did his own thing, came back
Yeah.
as a member of the Oddities for a brief period, but just didn't have the same shine and luster and passion for the business that he once had. And that's the sad part about it. The Natural
Yeah.
Disasters literally cut down before they really could cause any serious devastation. I see what I did there. So,
Nice. I like that.
I like that. All right. Well, I'm glad that 5 and 4 are locked in. Two solid choices. One tag team, one single star.
Yeah.
We got number 3, man.
Okay, so for number three, I think this is a actually really solid number three. I chose Cesaro. Um, I think that again, his in-ring ability was phenomenal. We could have definitely gotten him a coach or some practice or a manager with for promos if they thought that that was somewhere that he could expand on, like somewhere where he could really make some progress. But in looking at everything in to do with his career, the one thing that actually stood out to me that was really, really interesting was that at one point he was a Paul Heyman guy.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, very short-lived, but knowing that everything that Paul Heyman touches turns to gold, like he's literally Midas, maybe the fact that it was so short-lived kind of was to its own detriment, but I think that that could have been a greater run. I mean, like I'm in my head right now, I'm seeing him like hold somebody by the ankles and spin them around. Not to mention that match that he had when he was in the bar with Sheamus. I don't know who they were facing. I honestly don't remember their opponents. Your favorite.
So good.
But
We are.
you were like the biggest bar fan of life.
But I thought they were great. It was two guys that, plus, how the bar came to be because the series of 7. Like, that was the best thing Mick Foley did in his GM run, was that
Yeah.
series of 7. And then they both realized how good they are together. So they finally gained the title shot, and the title shot they gained is tag team titles.
Yeah. And like, but when you even see the lead up to that, like Cesaro had won the inaugural Andre the Giant Battle Royal. And then that, I think that's when he got like a title shot. I think it was Roman Reigns, if I'm remembering correctly. But what I do remember is that
Wasn't
like
it Roman Reigns Intercontinental Champion Roman Reigns? I don't think it was a world title. I think the only singles thing that Cesaro ever got his hands on was that Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy.
no, don't say that. I was reading something where like it was just a clean, like he did have a shot, but it was just a clean finish. And like when you even reading that, I was like, that makes sense because when you have a clean finish, like someone rolls you up and it's done and it's clean,
That it's done.
how do you say this guy deserves another shot? Like that wasn't fair or like, it was like he won clean, fair and square. So that led to, I think, I don't know, there's probably some stuff that happened between, but then that happened. But back to my point was everybody remembers, was it one tooth or the both front teeth?
Both teeth.
That
smacked him on the ring during that tag team title match. Finished the match.
he finished the match.
And then started wearing, after he got his teeth fixed, started wearing a mouth guard after that.
The fact that he finished the match was it for me. If I didn't support Cesaro before, if I didn't like, I was unsure about him, that was the moment, that was the defining moment for me for him because I can only imagine the amount of pain that somebody's in when you have your teeth pushed into your gums. But he finished the match regardless of the pain. It's like in my head, like he loved what he was doing because if it was really enough, like you could tell the ref, like I can't go on like this is, and I'm sure that something could be accommodated to be like, oh, shoot, this happened. It was a mistake, was accidental, but whatever. But this guy continued and then went about his business, then got his teeth fixed and did all of that. And like that just shows me his dedication to not only his craft and the business, but to the fans. Like
Mhm.
that speaks volumes. So I just think given his whole entire career, like there were times that he could have been pushed a little bit more. Like he again,
Indeed.
yeah,
Definitely
right?
indeed. Yeah.
Like he won. How do you take somebody winning the inaugural Andre the Giant Battle Royal and then it's a flop? Like then what are you saying about the Battle Royal and the winner?
Doesn't really mean much.
So those are my thoughts and
Yeah.
feelings on
Could have, could have,
Cesaro.
could have definitely won some Money in the Bank matches. Demoted to NXT, not really demoted, but brought back down to NXT to refine himself. My opinion, other than the bar, obviously his work with TJ Wilson when they were their tag team was
Yeah.
fire. I enjoyed everything about that, and that was obviously cut short again because of TJ's. TJ had an unfortunate injury. But you know what? Cesaro always in that tag team division, always in that middle division. I don't believe. I believe you're right. I think this is a solid number three. This could easily be argued as a number two or number one because this was a guy that was held down for so long in the E and did everything he was supposed to do. Even when they gave him like that James Bond thing when he had to come out and rip the suits off, and I'm like, okay, I get it, it's kind of cool, but it still wasn't enough. This was a man who easily could have been an Intercontinental Champion. This is a man who could have easily been a U.S. Champion. This is a man, depending on the circumstances, could have easily been a World Champion. And I feel like he never got that shine because he was mixed in with the Roman Reignses, with the Seth Rollins, with the again, the Vince McMahon guys. And he was even shall we forget, we the people. He was even a Dutch Mantel guy for a reason. And Dutch couldn't even get him that push. And I mean, Swagger got that push. Swagger is
Yeah,
a world
Jack
champion.
Swagger.
Okay.
Yep.
But I also did love We the People.
It was good.
I did.
It was
I
good.
just like and Dutch Mantel's mustache game is on point. Like I always rave about Dominic Mysterio's mustache, but can we give Dutch Mantel his flowers
Yes, let's please do.
for the
Yeah, let's
mustache?
do it.
Okay,
Let's
that's
do
right
it.
now. 10 seconds of silence for the amazing mustache that is Dutch Mantel. Here we go. With a tear in my eye,
I don't
Dutch
think that was
Mantel.
10 seconds.
That was like 7, but whatever. But anyways, so 7 seconds of silence for Dutch Mantel's amazing mustache game. But yeah, you know what? I think this is solid number three. Like I said, could easily be argued. And this is where it gets real tough. Like people think, oh, ringside five, it's easy, just their opinion. Nah, man, we got to go through to make our opinions make sense. We got to fight for our opinions to matter. And there's going to be times where I'm sure both of us might disagree and be like, you know, I'm not feeling your number three, but I am feeling your number three.
Nice.
I am. I'm feeling Cesaro. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to be feeling your number one, but I want to hear your explanations on that. So I'm going to hold off on my opinions till we
Yeah,
get to
yeah,
number
yeah.
one.
Oh, I feel so passionately about number one that it had to be number one. But
Okay. And when you sent me your list, I was like, okay, I like three, I like five. I'm not sure about one, but I'm going to wait.
yeah,
I'm going to wait till I voice my opinion. And again, if we don't agree, it's fine. I mean, at the end of the day, we're still going to be friends. I mean, you're still
I actually like it when we disagree because,
because it brings more fire to the debate.
but it also like opens up more
I
conversation,
like that.
right?
Oh, it
Like,
opens up the conversation.
yeah.
Yeah.
What do you
It's like
say
our
when you both
therapeutic
agree
dinner
on
session.
something? You're like, oh yeah, I like that. I like that too. Oh,
Well,
okay,
we both agreed that Signs is
cool.
probably the worst M. Night Shyamalan movie of all time, next to The Village. We did agree on that quite easily.
The Village has to be number one for
No, come on,
me.
swing away. You can't beat aliens with baseball. I'm not getting into this. I'm skipping over it. It's not happening. This is not
We'll debate this later.
a M. Night
We'll
Shyamalan
take this
hate
outside.
podcast, okay? Next, Ringside Top 5. M. Night Shyamalan movies. Why did he make so many? There, that's the thing. All right, but seriously, my number two is like I said, if you're watching the video, you see it. If not, you're on audio, so you cannot see it. But my number one, he's all behind me. He's all in this room. He's decked out like all kinds, man. I am a Canadian born and bred wrestling fan. I am a Stampede wrestling fan. I am a Hart family fan. I am an Owen Hart guy. I have always been. And even with all the shrouds of Bret Hart and Bret screwed Bret and the Montreal screw job and all that stuff. Owen stayed loyal. Owen took every gimmick when he wore that roadblock onesie, when he was the Nuggets, to the best time he had when he was tagging with Jeff Jarrett and Devin Ruth Michaels. That was one of the times where I could see he was having fun when he was a Blue Blazer, the first run and the second run before his untimely death. This was a man who easily could have been a world champion multiple times over. And I feel like Owen never got his chance to shine for that. I feel like Owen was never given enough of a spotlight. He was always in Bret Hart's shadow, and nothing against Bret Hart. It's just that Bret was Vince's golden boy for so long. But then when the business changed, he had to find a new golden boy, and that became Shawn Michaels, and so forth and so on. Owen never had the ability to shine. I look at WrestleMania 10, that was the opening match. And it's still one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time.
Hands down.
You want to talk about technical? This is the most technical wrestler on this list next to Dean Malenko. I would put that up.
Yeah.
In terms of tech. Dean Malenko, Owen Hart, 60-minute Iron Man match.
Ooh.
Sign me up.
Yep, I'm there.
Sign me up. That is something I would be on the edge of my seat for. Could you imagine Owen reversing the Texas Cloverleaf, going into a Scorpion Deathlock? Like, could you imagine just what we could get out of that? And we got a taste of that in Bret versus Owen, WrestleMania 10. And this is a storyline that easily could have been carried on for a year or two. This could have culminated for fighting for a world title, not just for respect, not just for the namesake of the Hart family. And I feel like we never got to see Owen's true ability. Yes, his life was tragically cut short because somebody cheaped out on a hook. That's all I'm going to say. That unfortunately has been literally investigated and reinvestigated, conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory. We're not here to discuss that. We're here to discuss wrestlers who deserved a push while they were in the business, while they were around. And I feel like Owen never got that push. I feel like during a time period, Jason Sensation got more of a push for his impression of Owen Hart than Owen Hart got a push up. And I feel like I would have loved to see Owen and Jeff Jarrett implode. I would have liked to see those two guys go at it for an Intercontinental title. I look at Owen's singles run, and I don't believe he ever held the singles title in the WWE other than the Intercontinental Championship twice. And I only think he won it the first time because he injured Stone Cold Steve Austin with that pile driver.
Right.
Again, factoids aside, I couldn't really find out the distance and the longevity, and there's so much information out there. But all the information, anytime you type in Owen Hart and career, you automatically get drawn to the death. You don't get drawn to anything really to do with the career. And that's sad. Yeah, but I'm a big Owen Hart guy. This is a man who definitely could have been a world champion, should have been a world champion. Let me correct myself. And yeah, I'm very happy with my number two. I'm locked in with my number two. This could easily be a 1. I don't think it could be a 3. It definitely could be a 1 or 2. We've talked about that. When you get down to 1 or 2, they have to be interchangeable. And I think Owen Hart definitely, if this was me doing the 1, 3, and 5, I would have probably put Owen as my number 1. But I was doing 2 and 4 this week, so I'm okay to put him at number 2. But Owen Hart, may he rest in peace, man, is definitely deserved more of a push than he got. And that's one of the things that I will stand behind with the pro wrestling universe, is that Vince McMahon did not push certain wrestlers properly. Owen Hart had it. He had the charisma. He had the mic skills. I don't care what people said, he had them. He could cut a promo with passion when he wanted to, and he damn sure had the technical ability. Bret Hart didn't have the mic skills, but he was still a 7-time champion. So what does that tell you, right? So yeah, it enrages me to no avail. But yeah, I'm locking in my number 2 as Owen Hart, the man who should have been a multiple-time world champion.
I agree. I think his untimely death definitely serves like yeah, definitely 100%. But when we look at the time that he was there, I think you hit the nail on the head. He was always in Bret's shadow. And I think that's how he was always viewed. And like, it just makes me think of my brother. Like, a lot of people that know me and my brother know my brother as my brother. Like, oh, that's Michelle's brother. That's Michelle's brother. That's how they know him. You know?
That's that guy who's related to Michelle. You have to say Michelle's brother.
No, but then like nobody would ever say, oh, that's Mikey's sister. I only know one person who they met my brother before they met me. And then I was Mikey's sister.
But that's only because of the time they was met.
No, exactly. But like, just bringing that to the forefront, like, that's really sad that because you are related to somebody else who's also in the business, that you don't get your shine. He was incredible, and like very sad that, you know, his career was cut short, his life was cut short, but very blessed to have witnessed not
What we got.
yeah, right? Like what we have, and like I'm grateful for that. I'm really sad that that's all we got, but it's unfortunate. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But definitely could have seen him gone really, really far.
And I feel like they could have incorporated his he was a pranker. He loved to prank. I feel like they could have had him step away from TE for a little bit and kind of brought back like a prank master thing
Ooh.
and had him like screwing with all the champions to like get into their heads.
Ooh, I
And
like that. And Vince likes pranks, right?
yeah,
Like he's a
like again,
very
this is
big prank guy.
stuff that missed the boat, right? I'm not
Yeah.
saying I'm Mr. Booker 101, but I feel like you got to incorporate. We've realized that you have to incorporate some real life stuff into things. I mean, all the Seth Rollins and CM Punk, there was real life tension in that fight, and I don't think that that feud is far from over. But when you incorporate the real life stuff, it tends to have a little bit more staying power. And I feel like if they had given Owen Hart like a chance to like prank master, like that would be his MO. Like, okay, I'm starting to feud with you, now I'm going to prank you. The pranks are going to get worse. They're going to get vicious. They're going to get really fucked up. And
Yeah.
then lo and behold, I'm gonna take your title from you.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna take your girl. I'm gonna take your car. I'm gonna take your house. I'm gonna leave you
Hide your
nothing.
kids, hide your wife.
Yeah, man, that's it, man. I want her. Woo! I'm not a nugget. You know, so yeah, that's my number two. And now, without further ado, number one, and this may be the one where this episode may become the longest episode of the Ringside Five, because I do feel a debate coming. But like I said,
Yeah.
I want all the facts to be laid out.
Yeah.
This
I
is not
will
12
be
extra
very,
Hey, I'm not Tony Danza. I just want to lay out the
no,
facts.
I'll be very short and sweet with this because um it is very short and sweet. So my number one is Gail Kim. And I think that it's very unfortunate that she was in the WWE in a time where women weren't seen the way they are now. And I think this was also pre-Divas or just before. No, we're just at the beginning of the Divas.
Wasn't she a Diva Search contestant, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes. No.
No.
Maybe. I don't know. To be honest, I'm sorry.
Listen,
But
so we have real life. We can't really do all the research. We're just laying out the facts to the best of our ability here.
right. No, but what I'm saying is, so she was very technical. Again, technical wrestler.
The whole list is technical. I mean, other than natural disasters who are just more power, they did have some
Yeah.
technical ability, but their power and their
Which goes to show, though, if we chose five people that were more technical wrestlers, and we all think that they deserve to push, I mean, that kind of just says something. But
says we're very one-sided in our business.
no. So the way I broke it down for Gail Kim, though, was there was a point in time where women were just viewed as objects.
Sex objects, yeah. 100%.
Right, sex objects, bra and panties matches, the mud bath matches, the
McMahon's playthings.
yeah, like very just gross, to be honest, if I'm being 100% honest.
I'm a girl dad. As a man, as a young man at that time, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
But now
right.
being a father of two daughters,
You
I
view
would
it
not want
differently.
this is not something I would want my kids to look up to.
And when I look at the Divas era, that whole Divas time, again, I'm going to bring up that like you can't necessarily force transition. So like women in the industry can't go from being those playthings, the managers, just something to look at, to serious wrestlers, the women that we see today.
Mhm. Took a
So
long time to get to where we are.
in my opinion, too much. But I also know, again, change is hard for people, and a lot of people are stuck in their ways. And I think maybe the slow burn might have been the way to make it successful, right? I think if it was pushed a little too much or pushed too hard, it would have been shot down. And that would have been incredibly unfortunate because we wouldn't see Bianca Belair, we wouldn't have the Rhea Ripleys, we wouldn't have the Raquel, like all of those, Tiffany Stratton, we wouldn't have some of these fierce, athletic, strong women.
The Oscars, the Io Skies of the world.
Yes, we wouldn't have those girls without having the Divas era. And I think while it was unfortunate because it was such a weird transition for the girls because they were still kind of seen as sex objects, but they also had a Divas title, but they weren't really well trained. Like their in-ring ability wasn't really spectacular. They were the smoke break matches. They were, I'm going to go use the
Sometimes the matches didn't
bathroom.
make TV because it was cut to time, right?
Right. So I just think that Gail Kim in that time was very sad because she did have really good technical ability. And I think when she eventually left WWE, it was because she eliminated herself. I can't remember exactly what the match was, but she eliminated herself because she didn't want to be a part of it. And another reason why I chose her is because of everything she accomplished in TNA,
Mm.
right? If you take a look at what she accomplished in TNA and like moved it over to WWE, or maybe not everything, but like just see that impact that she made and imagine the impact that she could have made if she was taken seriously in the WWE, I think that women's wrestling would be further than where it is now. I mean, I can't complain where it is now. I love seeing the women's matches. They even the one last night on SmackDown with Bailey, Bianca Belair,
Naomi
Naomi, and Nia Jax. Yeah, I was losing my train of thought.
the
But
fatal four-way for the number one contendership.
that match was phenomenal, you know? So I'm it's bittersweet because you can't push things too far, but I think that her talents, her minds, it was wasted. And I think they could have really utilized her given what she did for TNA.
Hmm. Yeah, you know what? If you look at this whole list as it is, um, most of these wrestlers gained infamy either before coming to the E or after leaving the E.
Right,
And that says something about the time period that we were in when these people were there.
right.
And you know what? I don't necessarily disagree with your one. I will say that you're right. The Knockouts division was pushing boundaries well before the WWE women's evolution. We know this. It's a fact. If you're a pro wrestling fan, you know of the Ultimate X matches. You know about the Gauntlet matches. You know about the crazy stuff that the women were doing. The first steel cage match was not WWE. It's much like their history, their lore would like to say, because in the E, we only focus on the E. The first women's steel cage match was and is a TNA staple. So TNA always kind of gave the women the chance. And I believe a lot of that was the girls when they were, approached by TNA and say, hey, we want to sign you. Cool. But this is what I want. I want a chance to shine. And the Knockouts division was ahead of everyone. Now, as much as people like to blame her for the fall, which I would blame Jeff Jarrett more than I would Dixie Carter. But I think Dixie Carter having that ability and that mindset for trying to make everything equal playing field. I mean, lest we forget, Jeff Jarrett was the one who pushed Jeff Hardy into that finals with Sting. And we all remember Stone Jeff Hardy, right? But these are lores that we don't talk about, right? We talk about all the mistakes that happen, but nobody talks about the fact of when these other companies did it, they did it right. And even with Limbo, Cesaro is over in Limbo now. His debut, he came in, he's already challenging for the ROH title. Is it a big major title in the Limbo world? It is, and he was the under that new banner, he was the inaugural champion for ROH. Yes, they already had a champion when it was purchased, but he became the first Tony Khan champion. So that says something, right?
Yeah,
Dean
absolutely.
Malenko, he had amazing success in WCW before he jumped ship. Then, like you said, unfortunately, age, body, injuries became a factor. And again, the natural disasters never had their full chance to shine in the E. And then we gain infamy again. We know where the infamy came from for that. I'm not going to get into that. Okay. Shockmaster, we love you. Brad, I love you. You're great. Yeah, big heart. But yeah, I honestly, and then Owen, of course, Owen as well.
Of course.
But I look at your number one. While I don't disagree with it, I feel like I get it. It's your number one. It's your passion. And I see it. I saw the passion when you were describing it. So for that, I will accept it. I will
Nice.
accept it.
Friends.
I will accept it. But I feel like you had a hard time with the number one, and I feel like this was something that I think you toyed with some of your numbers. I think you
Yeah,
might have
I
moved
had
down.
to. I had to move them around,
I'm not
but
sure there was a
like
name that you almost had on the list that didn't make the list. Did you have an alternate?
there were a few different ones, but when I thought about where I personally felt, that's where everything, like my personal feelings definitely came into it.
Of course.
And especially when I was just reading over Gail Kim and just reading everything, it was like just frustrating to me, right?
It infuriated you
Yeah,
like Owen Hart
it was,
infuriated me.
yeah,
Yeah, okay, I got you.
yes, yes.
Then by
So
that standpoint, I do agree and I do accept.
nice.
I withdraw my
Oh
original
my
statement.
God, nice with a nice little bow on the
Yeah,
top.
nice. Yeah, it's a gift. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So Gail Kim is our number one, and that's it. These are wrestlers who deserved a bigger push. And yeah, for sure, if you have a list, send us your list. We want to hear it. Let us know. Follow us on the socials. Straight Talk Wrestling everywhere. Straight Talk Wrestling on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Straight Talk Wrestling on Instagram. @ Straight Talk on X, Twitter, whatever. I don't really use it, but it's there. It's a thing. TikTok, straight _ talk _ wrestling. And Michelle is Michelle Arujo _ right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. And only on Instagram. DM her, slide in, say what's up, say how much you love the Ringside 5, how much you don't. It's all good.
Let me know your opinions.
Yeah, let everyone know your opinions. Just don't be weird about it, guys, okay? I think I've stated that before. Don't be weird. Don't be weird. As always, I'm your host, your boy, George Mackay, and this is
Michelle Arujo.
And that's it for this one. We'll see you guys next week on The Ringside. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.